Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Gupta could not be here today because of a higher priority commitment. So I just want you to know that the Gupta siblings are serving as his proctor for this final exam. My name is Vipin Gupta. I have a PhD in physics working for Sandia National Labs. Also here in the audience, and you will see her a little bit later, is my sister, RN, here in the area. And leading from behind is our youngest brother, Lieutenant Commander Ketan Gupta in the U.S. Navy, and also law student at the College of William and Mary. Now, we have a couple of other special introductions within the family for all of you, and I'll turn over to my brother for one of them.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to take this moment to introduce one of my dad's younger brothers. He was the second oldest Gupta. He's now the oldest Gupta brother, Gyan Gupta, who's traveled all the way here from Bombay. So I just wanted to recognize him. Thank you.
And I want to introduce the newest member of the Gupta family. He was, to look at it this way, so to put this in mathematical terms, so myself, my brother, and my sister, you should think of us as the first derivative of Professor Chetan Gupta and math teacher, our mom, Sarita Gupta. And now the second derivative. So we have a third second derivative. He was born the day after Professor Gupta's 74th birthday and 4 days before his last day. Of course, he is named after our family, the Gupta family. He is also named after a spiritual concept, wrestling with God. He's also named after a great composer, and it so happens his nickname is named after a place, this university. May I introduce to you Wolfie Israel Prakash Gupta. All right, we have people coming from far and near, and what I want to do is I want to just do a brief shout out for the hometown of people. Let's start with people who are from out of town, and then of course we'll let the home crowd chime in at the end, okay? So let's start over here on this side. Anyone from out of town, just shout out the hometown that you're from. Come on, Jerry. Yep, project it out. Thank you, thank you. Ed? Thank you, thank you. Anyone else from out of town? Chicago. All right. Yes. Thank you. Anyone else over here? Go ahead. Yes, thank you. You're welcome. Anyone else? Los Angeles. All right, all right. So we got people from all over the place for this final exam. Thank you. Okay. So let's start off by just addressing one thing, which I know is on the mind of many of you, which is, what is up with this whole concept of a final exam? And the background associated with that is Professor Gupta, last fall, was collaborating with his business colleague, whom you will hear from a little bit later, Dr. Mohan Sharma. And they were working together to organize a conference that would be in his honor, covering mathematics, Hinduism, life, and have it in India. And they did all this planning, and he was sharing all of that with me. And he was continuing to do that. And then, in April, we experienced a Hindu concept, and I also recently learned it's a Judaic concept, a question. And that question was, do you know how to make God laugh? And the answer to that question is, tell him about your plans. So, what's the origin of this event? we took about 80% of the content that Professor Gupta planned and switched it over to a final exam. And the remaining 20% is derived from what he was trying to do. Now, there's another key reason why we moved to a final exam, and that is a strong conviction that Professor Gupta had. And that was a final exam is anything but simply a gateway that you try to find the easiest way to get through. Instead, what a final exam is, if it's done right, is it's a catapult. It's something that vaults you with new skills, new knowledge, new abilities, new understanding that you can use for the rest of your life. So that is what we're going to try to do at this final exam. Okay, so there's some instructions that I need to provide to all of you. First of all, this final exam is a little bit different from other final exams you've been through. It is a-okay for you to capture photos and capture sound if you want. Just be empathetic about the person that you are recording. Would they want you to do that? Okay? The other thing is texting and Twitter, Facebook. You can do all of those things during this final exam. And the reason for that is I checked with my sister and learned, because she is our family expert of all things medical and final, and I learned that absolutely no one has been able to cheat successfully this final exam. Nobody. Okay. Now, there's another key factor we have to account for associated with this, and that is weeping and crying, which is very common in all final exams. We know that as proctors, okay? I forgot my ID, my contact lens fell in a toilet. We understand. We understand that, okay? But the problem is that if there is uncontrollable sobbing, it is very disruptive for the test takers, and it's also disruptive for us as proctors. Proctors are people too. So if you guys start sobbing, then it's likely that we're going to start sobbing, and then we're going to violate the discipline execution standards of this university. So we have arranged for a room for you. And Ray, is that room 102? 103. It's 103, okay, which is right down the hall over here, where you can go, and then you can come back. All right? All right. Now, the other thing about final exams, especially when it comes to math and medicine, we're covering both those. How many math specialists do we have in the audience? Please raise your hand. Pretty high concentration, okay? And how many in the medical profession? Okay? So, take a close look at all of them, because this university is trying to get you to succeed. So with these questions, so within one arm's reach, if you have trouble with the math, you can reach to someone who's a math specialist. With the other arm, you can reach, if you're feeling queasy or anxious, you can reach to someone who's a medical professional. Okay? All right? The PAC has got your back with this. All right. So our goal associated with all of this is to take the dread out of final exams. Let's go ahead and open up your exam book for your first question. One of the things that Professor Gupta was passionate about was crossword puzzles. And the Gupta, first derivative Guptas, knew this. He would do the DeKalb Daily Chronicle every day. So we produced a crossword puzzle for you based upon clues derived from Professor Gupta. And they are 3 down, an emotion that purifies in small doses and poisons in large doses. And 11 across, I'm okay, you're okay, and it's one word.